Do you remember the first acting class you ever took?
Yeah. Yeah. My entrance into the business was a scam. My day one, first foot into the acting business, I hooked up with a scam agency in North New Jersey. You had to pay money up front. You get 3 acting classes and headshots. So I think at the time, in 1999, it was like $1,000. And you get 3 acting classes where you sit in a big circle and everyone says their monologue and stuff. We didn't even know what monologues were. We just had to read off this piece of paper. And then some guy in the back was a photographer. You go to the back room and he takes pictures of you. They were the worst pictures I've ever seen in my entire life. And then you get them and they say, thank you, good luck. And then never heard from them again. It was actually like a talent agency. They boasted themselves out. So yeah, I think a year later they got caught. They went out of business, and that was my first step into the business as an actor.
And so did you kind of like have to audition for them and then they go,
No.
you know what, we think you have a good, oh, they didn't pull that whole thing? Okay.
No, they'll tell you that. Just like everyone will tell you what they think you need to hear to do something, you know, but no, they'll take everybody no matter what. Money's money. And it's funny because that was one of many hard lessons learned along this long journey that we're all on. And I'm kind of glad it happened. My first step into the business, I got scammed. I was like, okay, this is how it's gonna be. Here we go.
And so you had not come to Los Angeles at that point. You were still in New Jersey?
Yeah. I stayed in Jersey until I was 30, working my dad's construction company. And I was auditioning, I was acting and working as best I could. And at the time, the tax credit dried up in New Jersey. New York was going too. Work was scarce, and it just came to the point where I had one foot in. I was booking work, but it just wasn't enough to go, and I was always held back because of personal loyalty to my family, my dad, and the construction business. And it came to the point where my brother, who also worked for the business, and my dad were like, you gotta make a choice because you're on this show, you're on this show, you're on this show, but you're not going full with it. So, now's the time. And then I was like, wow. I said, you firing me, Dad? And he was like, no, but now's the time. I said, all right. So I think within 3 weeks, man, I sold everything off and I was in my Dodge driving cross country and that was it.
Oh, you drove out here. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I came out of here like a ball of fire. Because I left a family business. I wasn't just floating. I wasn't floating around, So for me, I was coming to Los Angeles like, do or die, man. That's it. And I'm not going to take any prisoners on the way out. And that's it. And that's even the name of my production company now. It just kind of sings to me. It makes sense. So it's like a reminder, like where my head needs to be, as an actor and now making films too.
And once you drove into the LA area, where did you stay?
Buddy's couch for about 2 weeks until this apartment complex that another friend was in said there was an opening coming. So I crashed on his couch. This is so funny, man. I crashed on his couch and finally after 2 weeks when the apartment complex was, the room was ready, I drove my truck there, I double parked, I had everything in the back of my pickup, all my tools, everything. I ran up the stairs, up and down the stairs to the 3rd floor, brought everything up. I went inside, paid the deposit. I'm like, here we go, got my apartment. And the parking garage was under the complex. I was right in Hollywood, off of Hollywood Boulevard on Sycamore. And I went to go down in the complex and my truck wouldn't fit. There's nowhere to park in Hollywood. You have to have a parking pass. So first, essentially, day at my apartment, my first step into Hollywood, and I bought that truck. That was hard-earned money buying that truck, and I had to sell it on the spot. One of those bums from the, cash for your car businesses came the next day. Oh, man, that was a tough one. Watched him take it off in a flatbed, and I was like, okay, here we go.
Did they actually change the title? Some of those people don't. I found out the hard way.
Think, right?
Speaking of scams,
yeah.
So was you said you learned that sort of the lesson when you were at the New Jersey acting class, that there would be a long sort of succession of other things you kind of learned the hard way?
Yeah, I kind of need to get hit in the face a few times before it sinks in anyway, So it's kind of par for the course for my life, how I go about things. So it's funny how your mentality changes as time goes on. I never really get hung up on the problems anymore or the issues. I'm not gonna say I don't get mad, but I think it's good to get a little angsty about stuff every now and then because it keeps you sharp and keeps you motivated. I know plenty of people in this business, they take the hits and then succumb to it. And I'm just not that kind of guy. So if anything, it, kind of drives it home, makes me go a little harder. So all these little hits I take along the way, yeah, I'll take them. You know what I mean? I'll take them and I'll just give it right back. And that was my first taste coming to Hollywood.
Wow. And so did you have a car for a while or no? You had to
After
go
that, I
carless?
had to get a car. So I took that cash and bought some cheapo and got around with that, Yeah.
After you experienced the sort of scammy, acting course, what then further got you into the business?
Through a mutual friend, I met a coach in New York. I started training in New York, and that's when things kind of started going. So I just progressed. I think I began the Meisner technique and worked forward from there. Got a scene study class, and I think I trained for about 2 years. And that's where I continued my studies in New York.
But you were going to community college, is that right? For
I
a while
was
in
at the
New
same
Jersey?
time.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was in the military. I got the GI Bill. So I went to the National Guard because I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I figured I'd come home, try everything under the sun because I didn't know what I wanted to do at all. I was just kind of lost and crazy. And I took an acting class outside of college. And that's where everything kind of came together. It was this class. So I already went through the scam one. I was like, whatever, I don't even know if this is real, if it's right, should I be doing this? And then my friends like, come to this workshop in New York. So I went and I was like, oh man, this is it. This is it. My mind was made up. So I actually went back to college the next day and I was sitting through one class and I just excused myself, went to the bathroom and I just left. I never went back. That was it. Then I started going full time in New York.
And how was your dad's take on that? I know you respect him a lot.
Yeah.
You have a good relationship with him.
Great relationship. He's my buddy. My father was a prodigy bassist when he was in his youth. He was just magnificent on the bass. He was a musician, and he came up in that world. And it reached a point in his career, climbing up, where they started making money and they were doing originals and whatnot. And then it stopped. And it broke his heart. And I remember growing up all these years in the basement. It was my dad's bass, and I used to go, when he wasn't looking, I'd open the bass up, and look at it. But he never played it. He never played the bass, and I never understood why. Until later years, I realized that he was just brokenhearted. He didn't make it to where he wanted to be. Married my mom, was responsible, had the kids, closed it up, and he's like, if I can't perform at a level that I want to be at, I won't perform at all. I respect that, I do, looking back at it. And I think part of that was my motivation to keep going to a certain extent because I didn't want to live that. He'll still talk about playing the bass now and start glowing. He's 70-something years old. I didn't want to talk about an acting career when I was being an actor and glow about something 50 years prior. I wanted to keep going with it. So I just kind of took that extra step. But if it wasn't for him in my life, instilling in me the principles and the discipline, going after what I want, like with a head full of steam and everything, I would not have been able to do that. So it's not like I surpassed my dad in the entertainment industry. It's not that. But in a weird way, it's like he gave me the tools that I needed to keep going, if that makes sense.
It does. And so would you call yourself a dreamer at that time when you were trying all these different things?
Yeah. Yeah, and I also associate the word maniac with that. I was a maniac, maniacal dreamer, wild card. I was completely dissatisfied. I couldn't figure what it was in life that I needed. I come from a blue-collar town, There's work vans and American flags in everyone's driveway. That's where I come from. So to say you're an actor doesn't really equate. If anything, you get these looks rather than like, oh, that's great. Like that's not where I come from, So it was a bit of a thing making the jump to Los Angeles, where it was the first time when I was 30 years old, I was acting for 10 years now, that I actually felt like I was in a place that accepted me, even though it was an oddly cold place at the same time, living in LA. And only people that live in LA understand what that means, So yeah, it was an interesting road, yeah.
Wow, okay. Would you say you're still a dreamer?
Ooh. Yeah, but I don't follow my dreams anymore. My dreams empower me and impassion me, but I don't follow them. Because I followed them long enough, I didn't get anywhere. There's no goal to a dream. There's no tangible plan, plotting the things I've learned from failing, from following my dreams and not thinking about, okay, well, follow my dreams. That's like telling someone to focus. Like how? Is there some kind of system? You know, concentrate. How? What do you do to concentrate? You know, follow your dreams. Okay, I'll follow them, but then what? You know? So you just kind of, it was just too much of a floating type of thing for me until I actually put tangible, hard goals in front of me. And now my dreams impassion me. They give me the fuel I need, but my path is not set by my dreams. It's just really what I want out of this business and for me creatively. So fulfillment is what I seek. At least I'll never be fulfilled. I came to terms with that a while ago, but I seek ravagely moments of fulfillment. And yeah, I think my dreams just help me kind of remember that, you know?
So writing films, like especially during the pandemic, I think you wrote several screenplays, making these films, that's not being a dreamer. You have an actual plan. That's a business.
Planned.
Okay.
That was planned. You know, it's funny. I don't talk about creative too much. I feel like when I listen to somebody talk about creative things excessively, that it gives off some kind of dreamer vibe. And then it's personal too, you know. For me, it's always a personal process. Being an actor all these years, you know, even writing is personal. Dipping into directing, I never thought it would be like that. Producing is more of, you know, a hustle. But when I wrote those scripts over COVID, they were designed before I put pen to paper in my head and then on paper. And I'm like, I'm not going to waste this time. And this is no offense to anybody, or it's just the way I work. So if someone's watching this, no offense to anyone, honest. But it worked for me. So if you get anything out of this, good luck, you know. I wasn't going to waste my time writing a page if it wasn't going to benefit my career and I could not receive fulfillment out of it and I couldn't get money from that. I'm in my 40s now. I got a kid. It's a different ballgame now. I already did the thing where it's like, I'm going to write a screenplay and feel good about myself and I'm done and yada yada. Like, I never really was like that. But I rarely celebrate anything for those reasons because it's not the end. A screenplay for me is like the very beginning. And if I was going to put any effort into that en route to making a movie, to be successful, and whatever people think that word means, I was going to make sure by hook or by crook that this movie was getting made. And I was like, okay, how am I going to get this movie made? And I put the dots together. I figured that out. I called him. I talked to her, this and this and that. I was like, okay, I think I got a shot here. I want to do it. And then I started writing. And that was it. The last thing I was going to do was write a script, print it, put a stamp on it, throw it on my wall, crack a beer, and pat myself in the back. No, that ain't happening. That's like 1/10 of the bigger picture. That was it.
You see there's a restless energy inside of you that you've learned to channel into projects and acting.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. I think that gets chalked up to a lack of fulfillment. And I always feel like that void, like my glass is half full for what I want to achieve creatively and in this business too, you know. I couldn't stop thinking about certain aspects of being an actor or writing now, directing to the business, which is a whole other thing. I can't stop thinking about it if I tried. I don't know. I think I have like a borderline healthy obsession about it, which maybe leans a little bit towards unhealthy obsession sometimes, which is basically lack of sleep, you know, and all that stuff. And hey, it is what it is, you know. But no one will ever accuse me for not working hard enough. That's for damn sure. And the big transition for me, if I may even talk about this, was trying to figure out how to work hard as an actor, how to work hard as a writer, how to work hard as a director and a producer. because that was a challenge for me coming from a family business, growing up hard work. I didn't grow up doing 8 hours a day and thinking that was it. Family business is like you wake up with it, you go to bed with it. So when I transitioned to this business, I felt like I wasn't doing enough. Even when my first year out in LA, I was considered a working actor. I made just enough money to live acting, it's tough. That doesn't happen. And I was, not like I sat back and did one of these. It wasn't that, but I was like, okay, but I still have more time on my hands. So I'm a working actor. What am I going to go do, yoga in the park? Like, I got things to do. I still want to go. I still want to climb. Nothing against people that do yoga, but it just wasn't for me. I just wanted more, So that antsiness, that want to, I guess you can, I don't know, Karen, attribute to just wanting to succeed too, is kind of mixed in there, It keeps propelling me to stay hot on my toes and moving forward. And I think there was a point where I realized on that drive out to Los Angeles, after I got pulled over by that cop, I was like, man, I'm going to make it by hook or crook by any way possible in this business. And I'm going to support my acting career doing so. When I got to Hollywood, I saw the game real quick. I knew a few cats out here, the big parties and all that stuff, and I saw how that stuff went down, and not my cup of tea, I just kind of stayed in my own little world, but I saw how it went, and I noticed early on that actors that most people know by name, at one point or another in their career were scooped up and placed. Very rarely was an actor just climbing their way up and not positioned. The agencies are powerful. The studios are even more powerful than the agency. I don't care what people say about agencies. The studios are the ones that make the decisions. And if a studio likes someone, the studio says, we want her, we want him. All the agents can do is push. So I noticed that nobody in my life, maybe that's a good thing, ever went like this with me. Not that I expected it or yearned for it, but I'm like, well, if no one's gonna do that for me, at least right now, for me to sit here and expect and dream and hope and believe, I said, what a waste of time. Nothing against it. You do have to have that in you, but I said, I'll do it myself. I almost cursed, I didn't. But I'll do it myself. And I think I had the wherewithal to kind of do that. And with that was a learning process in itself as well. I took a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, learning how to support my acting career. Even though I was booking work and things were going good, the work was not satisfying me. It wasn't enough for me. I don't know if it'd be enough if I worked 360 days a year as an actor. I might still want to work those extra 5. That's just kind of how I am. So for me, if I was going to come out here and put everything I had into being an actor, and my career was dictated by people via auditions that I'll never even meet, which essentially dictates my life, right? I can't deal with that. I couldn't deal with being an actor. I couldn't deal with living the life of an actor. And there was a major point in my life where I said, all right, game on. And I flipped another switch. And that's when I started writing and producing. And that came first. So writing and producing was a journey in itself. I learned from a lot of people. I learned the business as a whole. My second year out here, I hooked up with a foreign sales rep. I told him I'd work for free. I wanted to learn how that went down. I wanted to know it. I said, well, I'll work for free, man. So I ended up going to AFM 2 years in a row, sitting in the booth, seeing how that went down, selling to Australia, selling to Korea, selling to China. Mind blown. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that or been around that, but wow, what a crushing blow as an artist to see that firsthand. Crushing. I probably threw down a bottle of liquor after that. That was something, boy. To see how the artistic integrity of this business, the driving force to make the art, and then all of a sudden the art turns into content and then is bought. Wow, that was a mind, you know what. And at first I was blown away by it, and then I embraced it. And when I embraced it, that's when I felt like I took another step up. And then when I learned that part of the business and the US distribution side, which I worked for a US distributor too, a real bum. I'm not going to mention their names, but there's a lot of them. But I saw that side of things too, but I needed to know that side of the business if I was going to start from the beginning and know where I was going to go. It's kind of like building a house. If you guys go buy a piece of land to build a house, right? I equate a lot to construction. There's a lot of similarities that just make sense to me. But if you're going to buy a piece of land and build a house for spec and sell it, you'd want to know what the houses are selling for. You know what I mean? If you're going to buy a piece of land for 100 and you build a house for 100, now you're out of pocket 200,000. You better hope they're selling for over $200,000 or you're going to be in a loss. You know what I mean? Same thing with this business. Soup to nuts, same thing. Business is business is business. And that's when I started getting a little more solid. Like I felt like I was walking on solid ground in the industry rather than just floating around. I couldn't float, not from what I left home to come here and just float and see what happens. That wasn't in the cards for me. So once I learned the industry inside and out, I was like, okay, now I got you. Now I got you, now I got you. And I figured out how to produce better by making mistakes, by learning from other people's mistakes. I hope whoever's listening learns from my mistakes. I'll be open about them. And that's when I crossed that threshold. Once I crossed that threshold, that's when things started cooking. And there's a movie in 2017 that I was brought on to play the lead. And then I eventually rewrote the script and produced it and then even executed it in post-production and all that stuff. And that was called Bad Frank. And that one put me on the map and got things rolling as an actor. And then one thing kind of led to another, and it just kind of built from there.
And speaking of coming from New Jersey, family business, correct me if I'm wrong, you said your dad had a saying that is, the strong take from the weak and the smart take from the strong.
Yeah.
And it really had me, I was like, oh, wow. I started looking at my own life from that.
Yeah.
Can you share a little more about that? That's a really eye-opening quote.
Yeah, and he's a man of few words too. But when he spoke, I listened, you know. There's a lot to be said with the simplicity of that, isn't there? And I spent a long period of my life being strong and forgetting about, not acknowledging that I needed the knowledge to step up, you know? And it's an important aspect, especially in this industry. Yeah, you can be strong, you know, yeah, you'll survive strong, you'll survive. But I don't think it's just enough to survive. I was never happy just surviving, especially in this industry. Hell, in life, you know? So I made it my point to gain as much knowledge as possible. I'm like a sponge, I still am, to really get the ins and outs. And then there's practicality on top of that, you know, the doing. The last thing I am is an armchair guy that just has a lot to say about nothing, which a lot of people do, you know. If I'm going to write a script, I'm going to make it. Period. That's it, hands down. Nothing against someone else who just wants to write and they write scripts. That's what they do. My hat goes off to them. I don't even know if I consider myself a writer. I've written several scripts and I've gotten them made, but I know writers that write every single day. I don't. So I don't want to discredit a writer and say that I'm a writer. You know what I mean? I've written screenplays, I'll just say that. I've produced, but I don't produce all the time. I produce when certain doors are presented to me, you know, and I make the decision to. But there's producers that produce full time, you know? So I just try to be as smart as possible with my approach, get the appropriate information, and you can only get so much from listening. Sometimes you gotta kind of do it. You gotta get your feet wet. And nowadays, it's impossible to not make mistakes, but I try to make them these mistakes rather than the big ones. And sometimes you gotta get hit a few times to know that, you know?
Can you tell us about the time in your life when you told your dad you would never own a business, you would always be working for someone?
Yeah.
An employee.
Never in a million years did I think I would produce a movie, because that meant opening up an LLC. And there's like, that's just not happening. Because growing up, seeing him have to ask people for money when he was owed money, you know, and he's a real man, you know, my dad, like a man's man, and to have to knock on that door, you know, and it's like, hey, Frank, you think you could pay me what you owe me today? You know, I'll have it next week, yada, 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 and come back next week. To see a man go through that especially your dad, and not just like grab someone by the throat and knock him out, because he knew that if he did that, which he more than capable could have, my old man, but he chose family over that. I was like, I'm never going to be in a position where I have to ask somebody for money. I just want to be the employee, seeing what it was to be a business owner and all the stresses and everything that they deal with. I'd rather just be the employee, do my work, my 8 hours, take my breaks, and get my paycheck on Friday and not have to deal with anything. Such a simple life, comparably. And nobody would ever know that unless they grew up in a family business or was just there firsthand with someone that owned a business to really see it. The last thing I ever wanted to do was make a movie. The last thing I ever wanted to do was make a movie. But creatively, I was busting at the seams too. So I was like this. And I think it came to one of those decisions where I was like, well, if I can, it was twofold. If I can continue to express myself creatively through this, in this industry, I have to create a movie because I'm giving what I have as writing a story, telling the story, setting up the foundation, producing and making that story possible, and then obviously playing the role, which tickles me the most, you know? And in order to do that, I'd have to create an LLC. Or I just live the life of an actor, audition, see what happens, yada yada yada. And like I said, the life of an actor it just wasn't enough. Even though I was doing good. From the outside looking in as a working actor, booking roles, booking TV, you know, you hear from the outside like, oh, hey, this and that, you know, good job, up, up, up. I appreciate it. It's nice to hear that. But internally, I was screaming. So I bit the bullet and I was like, well, I'll learn this. And I think through growing up and see my old man go through that, I had severe mental blocks about what it was to own an LLC. Taxes, like was not my world, you know what I mean? I was a fly-by-night kid, you know, and that was the last thing I ever wanted to learn about. So it's funny, these little internal battles you have, that was difficult for me. Beyond difficult. I spent hours and hours and hours on YouTube and talking to people, calling people, asking questions, friends of mine that own businesses to learn what it was to own it. And then when I realized that it wasn't that big of a deal at all, but I just had this huge mental block against it. You know what I mean? But then when I learned it, the smart take from the strong, I said, okay, now I got it. And that enabled me to getting past that personal hurdle, that personal obstacle is what enabled me to kind of level up. And I guess go take the path that I've been on, you know, and it let me realize, you know, what I have to offer.
And you said going to AFM was such an eye-opener.
Yeah.
Did that also play into some of this? Because you realize now I'm becoming a business owner and now I'm producing, quote unquote, a product that needs to be sold to foreign territories.
Yeah.
And is this really who I am?
Well, I don't give into it though. I don't look at what I do as a product. I don't look at it as content. I never will. They can go sell it however they want. Twice. Didn't do it. They can sell it however they want. But to me, it's selling art. So I kind of look at it like this, and there's a couple things, if you don't mind me getting into, that I made mistakes coming up. Honest mistakes. I just didn't know any better. And when it affects your pocket and it affects time, energy, and money, it's like you got to learn from it or you got to bail. And there's no way I was bailing out of this. So when a movie is made, most filmmakers make the movie they want. That's not, in my opinion, the right way to go about it. If you are setting your movie up to succeed, for me, and I only speak from my experience of what worked and what didn't work, is that you have to kind of look at it like painting in the numbers. Remember that when you're a little kid? 1 is red, 2 is orange, 3 is blue. That's your genre. And if you choose the appropriate genre that sells domestically and foreign, that's your palette to work from. There's certain things there's certain colors you have to use within that palette in order for the people that sell your art to recognize it and be able to sell it better. If you deny that, you're doing yourself your movie, your investors, everyone involved, a huge disservice. And you literally could be setting yourself up for failure. Time and time and time and time again. The lack of doing that is what makes people say, oh, movies are a bad investment. It's not the movie. The movie is not a bad investment. It's the person making it. That's the bad investment. So when I hear that stuff about movies are bad investments, I just want to smack somebody because I'm like, no, it's not. You just got burned because you put money into the wrong person, you know? So if you look at it like paint by the numbers, that's your genre. And within that genre, there's certain selling points you have to hit. Now, you have your colors. You could paint the world you want. That's where you're able to be creative. But just do it in their palette. It's a little give and take. You may not be able to make the movie that you just want and you just picture and you're just free associating when you're writing and drawing pictures of elephants and rainbows and this and that. Like, I get it. I want to too. Matter of fact, I did. Never doing it again because now I just know too much. So for me, that would be a naive move. And I would never do that if I was to accept money from somebody, ever in a million years. I'm the kind of guy, if I owe somebody $5 from the night before, like it's driving me nuts until I pay him back. So to take somebody's money to make a movie, yeah, you bet your butt I'm making the right choices for all reasons said, you know? So if you stack your film appropriately and you essentially, for lack of better words, follow the system, but you are as creative as possible within that, you will ensure success. But you got to follow the rules a little bit, which I'm kind of okay with because, like we were saying before, Hollywood's been in business for a long time. There's a Hollywood system that's been in place for a long time. When you start deviating, which I think was kind of cool in the 90s because independent film was like sought out. That's what I came up with, like that grit, that dirty indie. I loved it. I still do. But I won't make it now. Even though I love it here, I can't make what I want to make the way I want to make it because I know it doesn't have a place to sell, you know? So if you follow the system and you do it the right way, all that work, all that effort, it will go. And then ultimately you will be in business because you're following the way it's supposed to be. Once you start working against it, once you start making the movie that you want, you're doing what you want, good luck, you know? It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the ultimate goal. If you want to do that and you don't want to make money and you don't want to make your investors money back and you don't want to have people see your work, which is just as much of a driving force for me as it is about the business side. I can't move people with my work as an actor if they don't see the movie. So I have to think as a producer so people will see the movie so I can move people as an actor. The producer hires everyone. So if you're writing, directing, producing, acting, which is what I've been doing every now and then, the producer hat hires the actor, Kevin hires the actor, director, or Kevin the director, and hires Kevin the writer. That's the producer hat. That's thinking of the end before you start. That's worked for me. It's working. It's stepping up. My next project's in October. I was already told by a sales rep who wanted to come on board that the budget that we're using, she was kind of flabbergasted by it, but she's like, you're gonna do very well on it. So it's good to know that before we even make the movie because we start filming in October. Now, I mean, that's a position I wish I was in 10 years ago, you know, but it took a few movies to get there and here I am. So it'd be really great if people took my advice and don't make my mistakes and just started there. Because that stuff takes years off your life, man, you know, and it puts you in bad positions and you possibly can lose people money and you can't get time back. And, you know, a broken spirit that's a rough thing to bounce back from, you know, and I've been there several times. So now, yes, I see how it works. I get it, plain as day, not foggy at all. I'm like, okay, this is the story I want to tell. Can I tell it in a way so it fits in this parameter? Yeah, cool, it's a go. I'll start writing. I'll figure it out. And that's how I approach it.
And if an investor is listening, how will they know the difference between a bad film versus a bad producer? You said you're not, it's usually not the film that's bad, it's sort of the person behind the film.
Yeah.
How can they decipher that?
It's tough. I mean, you know, there is a term called a smart investor. You know, it's a real term you know, for obvious reasons. There's a lot of bad movies that I know of that made a lot of money. They're just bad movies. Some are not even bad. They're just like, you know, made a lot of money. Some of the most amazing movies I've seen that I've remembered through 20 years of being in this business that have affected me and touched me so deeply that it inspired my work as an actor, inspired my work as a writer, like trying to achieve what they did. Nobody will ever hear about these movies, ever. Ever. Gone. Just gone. Whatever film festivals they won back in 2001 and this and that, because they're mid-level festivals and no one cares about. Anything that's ever been done with these projects, I've seen some of the most amazing, amazing pieces of life, and no one will ever have the chance to be moved by them because the business behind the movie was not constructed the right way to take that art and go like this, you know? It's crushing. I've been there. You know, there was one film I made that I wrote the story for because it was about my life. And I wrote the story for it the first month I was in Baghdad when I got sent to war, before stuff started getting pretty crazy. The first month was slow over there. So I filled up a journal. Man, there was smoke coming from that pen. It was my life. It was basically about essentially how a gang, an organization, could begin today, which was 2008, when all the stuff at Wall Street was going on and everything. And it was, you know, strife, need for money, and how a blue collar family could transition and reject their morality and their morals to make money and support their family. How a gang could start. It was called Blue Collar Boys. Movie won a few festivals. It went around, I think, Italy, Canada, US. Everyone that saw that film really, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. It struck a nerve. That movie was not constructed the right way. Even though the movie came out, you know, it was the first time I stepped into that. It was a loss for everybody, unfortunately. Luckily, it was my own money that I lost and the dude that directed it, because we put the money into it. Man, I'd feel so guilty if other people put money into that and I couldn't get it back. I'd feel so guilty I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So I'd rather take the hit than have someone else do it on my behalf, you know? If that movie followed suit a little better and we played the cards right, knew what the selling points were and capitalized on that, my story still could have been told, just angled differently. That's it. Decisions would have changed things. And now there's this piece of art, this beautiful piece of art that my heart is connected to, that's out there. I don't even know where it is. I don't even know if it's on Apple right now or what. I have no idea. I have no idea. And I think that's the bulk of most filmmakers. Usually it's a one and done when they start, or two, and they're like, you know what, I'm out, you know? It just doesn't make sense. But I just stayed in it long enough and wouldn't give in until I understood it and knew it, you know? I couldn't just be strong and survive it. I had to be smart and get on top of it. So that's just kind of what made it go.
How do you determine your worth as an actor?
Karen, the question of the night, man. I was so hoping you'd ask me something like this. I got a deep dive here. You down? You ready? I'll go
ready.
through it.
Okay.
I realized at a certain point, only when I started making films, that an actor has a value. Knowing distribution companies and foreign sales reps and how they look at things, once the surge of social media came, all of a sudden there's a tangible value, right? Now you got a tangible number on everybody's name that actually dictates. And then once social media was around for a minute, people realized, they could buy followers, and you know, now it's like fake. So that was a determining factor at one point. Now, not so much, and it kind of went away. But it's still something. An actor's value comes in different ways. It used to be dictated by the box office. That's why when that system with theatrical release, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this know, you know, once the theaters started going, the mode of the system went on its ear a little bit. Everything was determined by that opening weekend in the box office. Everything. Not only for the movie, but for the actor's worth. Because if the movie had a great opening weekend, well, guess who's starring in it? Well, they must be worth something. Boop, let's put them in another one. That's what determined it. What determines an actor's worth from a distributor's perspective, this is from what I've been told from the horse's mouth. So if anyone wants to fight me on this, have at it. It's not my words. You are bankable based on the billing in the movie you are in. Usually top 3 or top 4 build, and how consecutive those movies are released and how those movies do. The box office used to determine that a lot more clearly than it's determined now. Now it's tough because you can have an amazing movie that does well on streaming, but who's going to see those numbers? They're not open to the public unless the producer wants to give them out and show them, which I really don't think many filmmakers actually put their bank statements on the internet, you know? So it's hard to determine. But you can kind of tell. You can see how many reviews people are getting and views and how much, you can just hear about how much it's talked about. Like, for example, my movies, I feel weird saying this, fan base, if that's even a thing, whatever, it's very blue collar. My fan base don't write reviews. I'll get a message from someone, you know, back home, you know what I mean, or on the East Coast or something. They're not review people. They just don't, you know? So it's different tangible factors that come into play. Now, an actor's value is integral because when I was talking about painting by the numbers, that's kind of one of the things that comes into play. Depending on the budget of your film, will really warrant if you need to have bankable actors. If you are able to create a movie under $40,000, $50,000, and its production value is there, the story's there, you don't necessarily need a bankable actor to get you your money back. If the social media plan is in place, if the marketing plan is in place, and you guys are really effective, you might be able to make it back. Might, depending on the genre. But if you mix genre and actors of value, you're kind of on the road to success. So an actor's value is determined in several ways. When I was coming up, I'm sorry I'm coming full circle with this, I don't want to shortchange the question. I realized that I had to give myself value. I came up with that determination maybe a year in when I was in LA. I'm like, I got to give myself something else to these dudes making movies. It's not I realize it's not enough just playing the role. I've been fortunate to be in positions to tell stories, you know, which is what I dream for and I lust for, you know what I mean? Like I love telling the stories as an actor and playing the lead or the main supporting so I can have that responsibility and that weight. But even if I did something that turned heads as an actor, that still might not be enough to value the movie. If I give a great performance in something, that might not get me sold in Germany because Germany's not looking for a performance piece. Germany's looking at what genre, who's in it. So in order for me to give myself value, my thing was I came from a different direction. So what I did was I had to sit back and look at everything. And when that movie Bad Frank came out, it kind of put me on the map because it popped here a little bit, but it sold foreign. I was surprised and it really went. It made money, especially in Germany and wherever else. And that's kind of what put me on the map a little bit. So what I did was, as an actor, I called up the distributor and said, thanks. It was like, it was the weirdest thing. They treated me like, you're welcome? Why don't you come by the office sometime, man? It'd be great to see you. I was like, yeah, you got it. So I got a couple bottles of wine, went by the office, made some friends. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I know a distributor now. I called the person that sold it for it. I said, hey, this is Kevin Internato. I was Frank in Bad Frank. Hey, Kevin, what's going on? Nothing, how you doing? Good, small talk, small talk. Hey, if you're ever in the area, come by the office. I said, sure, man. I went by, hit it off. Now I know him. And before you know it happened with another movie I played the lead for, I made them money. So if I'm someone that's helping them make money, why would they not want to know me? Business, right? And before you know it, people job hop, right? So these 2-3 people I met at this one distribution company, within a year's time, they bumped up and went somewhere else. Now I know this distribution company, now I know this one, now I know this one. That was what I did. And I kept reaching back and I was continuing on with the films I've done and the films I was doing. and expanding my contacts, my relationships. That's where I saw value that I can give to myself, that I could bring to a movie. So from that point on, I changed my whole outlook on being an actor. Not talking about creative now, but now when I was presented, whether it's from my manager or someone reaches out to me directly, which happens more now, which is it's really nice, you know? But I tell everyone right across the board, the option's there. You want to hire me as an actor, I'm down. But here's also what you get with me. I know these 7 distribution companies, I've opened doors. I've opened doors to these 3 foreign sales reps. These 8 distribution companies in these countries have bought and still buy the films that I'm playing the lead in. I know 3 first ADs. I know an excellent cinematographer. I got 3 editors. I got this, I got this, I got this. My Rolodex is yours. I also have a plethora of actor friends I've known through the years. Some pretty well known, fairly well known, some unknowns, but we always want to work together. Everyone's looking to working at a discounted price. If we could just hang out and do a movie together, that comes with me. And that's true to this day. That's how I work. That's the truth of it. That's how I work. Why would I not do that? Why would I not try to help the filmmaker that's making the film that just offered me a role? Why would I not? Why would I just do my job and walk away? I would never. If there's things that are in my wheelhouse that can actually improve the movie, yeah, of course I would, you know? Of course, and that's what I do. So with me comes that value. If it's up to me and another actor, and we both audition, or a director is like, well, it's either Kevin or this other guy, you know, and we're looking at this, looking at that, I would hope that the smarter producer would choose me. And that's not putting me on a pedestal as an actor. It's not. People can make their own decisions about my work as an actor. But I know as a producer, if I had 2, 3 actors in front of me, A, B, and C, and A was terrific, and B was terrific, and C was terrific, but C also said, this is my list of friends who are known that might push the needle for sales. I also know these distribution companies, open door, and I know these foreign sales reps, open door. I say, that's like a no-brainer, dude. You're hired. Why would I not think like that? You know? They can all do the job, but for me, that makes sense. As an actor, that makes sense. Because just to be an actor, no. And there's a lot of that. Once you go higher up the chain, you realize like there's actors that, you know, actors that are up there, the actors that I know too, that everybody knows their names, yeah, they're businessmen and businesswomen. You won't see that publicly, but behind closed doors, oh yeah, sharp as a tack. Sharp as a tack. So that's what I offer as an actor till this day. Fortunately for me, the past couple years, starting with Bad Frank, I was able to find that balance and that value as an actor that exists in the US and foreign territories was something that I wanted to attain. And finally, the time is here because of the projects I've been cast in or the projects I've been making. Because I want to give value to not only my own projects as an actor, but if someone was going to hire me, say, okay, you hire me. I know we just sold for X amount in Germany. I know we got a US deal for X amount here. And now there's a tangible number on my head too. So that's where I come from for building worth as an actor. That's where I come from. And then I have the honor and pleasure of playing someone's role. Yeah, why would I not do that? You know, now I feel guilty if I don't help out. So the option's there. If somebody needs a hand, open door.
So you drove your Dodge to LA.
Yep.
You realized that you had to sell it because it wasn't fitting in the parking garage.
Yep.
You went on these auditions. At what point did you realize, I want a seat at the table, and if I keep doing this, I'm not going to get that seat. I've got to do it this way that you're talking about. Now you're bringing not only your talent, but you're bringing all sorts of other value to it.
Did you just compliment me, Karen? Thank you so much. Look at that.
I did, yeah.
Karen, everybody. Karen. That was nice.
I have my good moments. Despite me. I'll call the manager, but yeah.
Yeah. Not too long after.
No.
No,
Okay.
not too long after. Like I was saying, I picked up on the life of an actor pretty quick. I saw the lives of actors that were busy, that were working. From the outside looking in, they were making more than enough money to live off of their acting career. That kind of means you made it. even if you made it for a 5-year spell and then things fall, you made it. And I just didn't, I was like, that lifestyle is not for me. It's just not for me, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna start burning up all this money I made as an actor and go vacation and this and that, yada, yada. I'd rather take it and save it, keep working, generate my career, you know, and continue on. And then even put a little bit of my own money in my own projects, you know? So I caught on to that pretty quick. The first thing I did was get the jobs with the foreign sales rep and the distribution company. I also joined up into a production company, and I went through 3 production companies I was a part of. I worked like an absolute dog day and night, day and night, day and night. And when I wasn't working there, whatever commitments I had as an actor, I did. But the 3 companies went belly up. And I kind of saw that happening when I was in the companies, but I wasn't the high man on the totem pole, but I saw it. So those were kind of instances where I learned from other people's mistakes. So I said, when the time comes for me and when I do mine, yeah, I'm definitely not doing this. That's not happening at all, you know? So I saw it early on and I jumped on it. I wasn't gonna waste any time.
What is your smart budget business model?
The smart budget business model is pretty much the opposite of what people have been doing for a very long time in this business. It's riskier. It's not conducive to supporting yourself. But I'll let you know what it is. A smart budget business model is this. It's making sure you can make your project with as little money as possible to offset the gains. If I was able to make a project, say, Karen, you and I are going to make a movie. We have the same exact script, right? And you can make this film for $200,000. One way, shape, or form, I'm going to find out a way to make it for $75,000. By hook or by crook, that's the goal, without sacrificing production value and integrity of the film. And if it means rolling up my sleeves and getting dirty for a full year, year and a half out from start date, day one, me doing all the work that needs to be done myself in order to bring that movie in for 75, I'm doing it. Because at the end of the day, the movie's gonna make 250. So now you're only making 50,000, you didn't barely pay back your whatever, and I'm already in the green and made everybody money and then some. That's a smarter budget business model. It works. If you're careful about who you choose to join you to make the project, that comes with a lot of choices. It comes with the people that you choose to run your crew, to run your set, your cinematographer, your editor, front end, back end, everything. Also, the big thing is this, you can't take from it. That's hard. That's the hardest part. You gotta have money in your pocket from your day job. If you know you're gonna do this, you plan a year and a half, 2 years out, and you start saving like a, you know what, save, don't spend, and you put that in a kitty. So when the time comes to make that movie, you got this little nest egg to live on for you or your family or whatever it is, like it's there. Because the more money you take and put in your pocket from that project, at this budget level, the less money is going into the project. If it's a $200,000 budget and you're putting, you know, 20, 30, 40,000 into your pocket, even 20,000 into your pocket, that's potentially 20,000 that could be going into a name actor that can get you, you know, like into somewhere else. So it's like, you got to think of it like that. If you're able to save so much money in particular things and get the hookups and you can put a little bit more in there, cool. But just know that whatever goes in your pocket is eating the budget, which is what should go to the movie. I know people that have dipped in 50%, man. Oh yeah, I know people that have dipped in 50%. Even less is a lot. But to take the risk and to take on other people's money, yes, you do have to get paid. But how much will you stand behind your project? Like how much? Me, I stand behind it soup to nuts. You can fight me off a cliff, ain't gonna happen. I stand behind what I'm gonna do if I'm gonna make a movie. Just like I stand behind playing a role. If I'm gonna make a film and I am not in a position to have $500 or $1 million, that's a different way of going about it. When you do that, you're in a position to hire actors that will warrant your budget and then some if you play the cards right. That's when it comes down to like you kind of playing chess a little bit. If you are getting money to make a project that's a smaller budget scale, then you got to be so smart about it, because you will not make money. Proven time and time and time and time again. And filmmakers will still make films, which is great, but they would still get mad and complain about it and blame the movie business. It's not. It's our fault. We know what we're doing. We know what we're getting into. But to knock the movie business because of an error in our planning, it's really not the right way to point your finger. It should go like this. And having made mistakes, I know that now, and I will not ever do it again. If you plan appropriately, if you're only able to raise a certain amount of money, I'm kind of talking like around the 100 mark and lower, very rarely do you have enough money to hire the actor that can warrant sales. So you have to be so smart about it, so fickle about it. And you have to be, you have to make intelligent decisions with who you're bringing in. Because the genre will help you greatly, but it won't put you over the top. So anyway, for a smart budget business model, for anything under 100, especially even lower, I would go genre strong. And when I say genre strong, I mean possibly making the top selling genres if you can, and if you're creatively capable of executing at a high caliber, and staying away from the genres that are not selling without a bankable name. So you stay away from the dramas, crime dramas, you stay away from comedies, because humor does not translate in different countries. Like, people don't think of these things, What we think is funny here, people in France are like, what? It doesn't make sense. It's like, we don't know their humor, So it starts here and it ends here in the US. Violence, people just love violence, period. That's why action's not just like the #1 selling genre, it's actually like number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then the rest. That's today. Things change, but that's how it goes.
And now, are you factoring in your salary into this budget, or no? You said you're saving this nest egg. Okay, so let's suppose we both have a script, action script. I'm going to make mine for a certain amount, and I'm renting out a pretty office, and I'm maybe even hiring a pretty person to be at the front desk because I want to give the illusion that things are better.
Yeah.
What are you doing to combat and to save that money, and what am I doing wrong?
You're throwing away money that could be put into the project. If you were a friend or I knew you, I would out of good faith, I would say something to you. If you weren't a friend, or if there was reasons I didn't like you, I wouldn't say anything. I'd say good luck.
You say you're doing a great job. Keep going.
Hire 2 people, it'll be better at the front desk. Any dollar that you put in should go to the budget. It's really, there's almost a system in place for small budget films like that. You know what I mean? If you follow that method, it works. It's so hard to no, I take that back, because that makes my thought process go that way. Everything's hard. What isn't hard? It's almost not possible. I'll say that. It's really almost not possible to make your money back on a very low budget film. It's almost not possible. There are people that do, on the two movies that I just did, Bastard Sons and Malicious, I did. But those were planned. Those were both designed and planned for 2 years before we shot. I had the props list done a month after. I had the props list done and bought and labeled and bagged a month after I wrote the script. I just got it out of the way. Locations done, vehicles done, this done. So I didn't have to hire people for this stuff. I already had it done. You know what I mean? Food connections, you name it, it was a wrap. All my buddies coming in, we'll work for nothing. You got it, I just had it all planned out. So I was planning to make this for as low as possible, but have the production value as high as possible and offset, the odds, which is what I did. But if you think you're going to get $100,000 or less, or 20 or 50, whatever it may be, even 125, anything, and you're going to make the movie you want, like, oh, because it's so low budget, of course it's going to make money. I mean, that's a naivety that, you're on your own,
And so you're filming in places that have a tax credit?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I am.
Okay.
Those other films, they were too low to qualify.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you've said previously, I think that you're always scouting for locations. You
Yeah.
always kind of have your eye out for it. So what's a location where you're like, you know what, this diner is going to work better than that diner? And and is it just mainly you go to the owner and they say it's going to be this much? Is that what makes the difference?
Yeah, and the owner does too. You know.
Oh, the owner does. Okay.
Oh yeah, you know, if they got that kind of personality, you can kind of drop hints and play around a little bit. You got to be a hustler, not in the negative sense of the word. That doesn't mean like a wheeler and dealer, a used car salesman kind of hustler. Hustler means you got to pound the pavement, get out there and ask questions.
You're testing people.
Oh, big time. The best way to test people is to lay it on the table. You know, I don't play around. Perfect example, and it's, you know, I'm not a rocket scientist. If I was at a diner, I'm like, man, this place looks great. You know what I mean? We're looking around, this would make sense. Holding area would be there, hair and makeup would be over there. We got parking. There's a main street over there. It's not too much noise. It's not a main highway. This might make sense. It's also, you know, they close at 10 o'clock at night. We shoot overnight. Perfect. Waitress comes by, bop. Hey, is the manager here? Or even the owner? Yeah, cool. Let's talk. Small talk it. Like, hey, man, here's the deal. You know? And that's it. And it's, you know, small talk it and kind of gauge where they are. The difference between shooting in places like New Jersey or Chicago, where we're shooting Dirty Hands, and LA, is the first question in LA, they say, how much? In New Jersey and Chicago, the first question, you get a big smile and they say, what's it about? That's the biggest difference. Now you know you got a home somewhere. Those are the people you want to work with. I'd rather work with someone like that, where the production value was almost there, worked with some clown who's got the ideal diner, but he's a real, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to deal with it. So I'd take the time set dressing that to deal with an appropriate person than have that in my world. I just won't do it.
Okay, let me play the owner then and ask.
You're the diner owner?
I'm the diner owner.
All right,
yeah,
here we go.
It's Karen's diner. We do greasy vegan food.
Of course you do.
Okay. And so you say, hey, I'm doing this movie, and I say, how am I saying how much right away instead of what it's about? And how do you know that that's a bad sign?
Usually just kind of comes out in a roundabout way. You know what I mean? It's because that's like the movie should not be about money. If someone says to me like, hey, what's it about? And we had that conversation, I would cough up. Eventually, we have money to pay you. You're not going to get rich. I'm just letting you know right now. We do the best we can. Give me a day or two to get back to you. And and I'll let you know what we have in the budget for it. Cool. You know what I mean? I would tell you that. For you at your greasy vegan joint, number one, I probably wouldn't shoot there.
Why not? We make the best chicken wings.
Yeah. No, but usually, you know, people just talk about money right up the front, right out the gate, and it's just kind of like this weird vibe. You know what I mean?
Okay, it's weird, but I have staff to pay. I have cooks that won't be showing up that day. I have to pay them for their time. I can't just say, so-and-so, you're not working today.
Totally
I've guaranteed them 5 days a week.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even hold that against you, man. It makes sense. And I wouldn't want you to lose money. That's why we're going to shoot overnight. So if you wanted someone to be here with you, or if you wanted to come, matter of fact, it'd be great to play an extra in this one scene. We'll talk more about that. But yada-yada, and get the conversation going, and it'd be like that. In and out, 4 hours, tops, not a second more. And we wouldn't want you to lose money. And also, if you wanted, we're actually looking for an exterior shot of this restaurant we're shooting in. If you want, we'll put that in the movie too. But if that's the case, maybe we can work something out, because, you know, we're gonna pay you like $300-400 for 4 hours. But I'll tell you what, if you just want to do it for free, we'll put that in there.
So then the hustler in me, if I say, well, no, I want to be paid, then I don't get my sign in the movie?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can't hustle a hustler then,
Right.
basically. Okay, so then what if I don't break and you don't break, then it's not a good...
Yeah,
it's
I'm not trying to get over on anybody.
No,
you know
no,
what I mean?
I get it.
It's just really just being upfront with it, and you know, look, it's not a negative thing. Hustling someone is negative. I'm not looking at it like that. I'm saying be Johnny Hustle. You got to be a hustler. You got to go get it.
Sure.
I'm not trying to hustle with, you know, like that. So if something's not right from the get, you know what I mean? And that's fine. If something's not clicking, it's not clicking. Because the last thing you want to do is have a weird relationship with someone that you're going to revisit in a month.
Right.
And before you know it, you're supposed to be there 10 o'clock at night. The place is locked and no one's answering their phone. right? So yeah, that's kind of where I come from with saying hustler. Some people are like sneaks about it and they're shady and wheeling and dealing and stuff like that. I don't wheel and deal nothing. Here's the deal, bop, bop, bop. I may come across like that because I'm talking quick and I'm from Jersey, but it's not like that, you know? But no, I keep it on the up and up and just put it on the table and take it from there. And then, you know, hopefully you get with people that are into it. And I'll tell you what, on the East Coast, in areas, and it was cool in Chicago too, you know, if they're not used to movies coming to town, what an awesome feeling it is. That excitement that comes from people, because being in the business for so long, I forget how exciting movies are. I forgot a while ago. It doesn't excite me like that anymore. So the idea of someone's store being in a movie, or if I need extras, but like, hey man, we got to fill some seats. You know any people, any buddies of yours that want to be sitting in? Is your wife around or her kids? And you know, you get this, and it's such a cool feeling to be able to entertain that. You know,
It's much different here. I get it.
But to go back real quick to hustle, to get that hustle going. Look, if you could save a buck, you save a buck. So to say to somebody like, we allowed locations for this location, we got in the budget 250. I'm really hoping you could swing that. Up. Of course I got 500. Of course I got 500 in the budget, but I'm not going to just offer up 500. You know what I mean? So there's a give and take with being, you know, with putting all your cards on the table as a producer. I have a production to protect and a budget to protect. So if I can get something for 250, I'm going to get it for 250. You know, even though I budgeted for 500, because that's another 250 I could put towards this. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with that.
Between action and cut, there are no rules.
That's my high, man. That's my high. That's it. That is, that's my fulfillment right in there. That's what I yearn for. That's what I dream about, think about. Those moments that we all have as human beings when we are in our head, walking from room to room, thinking about something, capturing ourselves talking out loud, having the conversation with no one that we wish we had 10 years ago if we had them in front of us now. These moments that when they stop, you don't even know what happened. That's the two moments. And it's a privilege and it's a blessing when someone hires me to do that for them. I can't even put it to words. That satisfies me in a way nothing else in life does. Period, hands down. And I've tried a bunch of different things. Not drugs. But that is everything to me. And and I've noticed that making films makes me creatively fulfilled too, which is nice. And I enjoy it, and it can move people. But nothing will replace being an actor. And that's my career, it's my profession, and I think I've hit this business head on in different faculties to ensure that progression of an acting career for myself. Auditions come and go. You know, my resume, much like other people that have been in the business that are pretty known, friends of mine, I'd say maybe only less than half the work is from auditions, you know. Sometimes we work for people, and then the cinematographer is also a director and he's doing a film, and that one sees your work, or you get an offer here and stuff. It just kind of comes, you know, from working. Work begets work, right? Same thing in this business. And that's my cake, man. I like to eat it too. Yeah.
Why are you more comfortable being vulnerable on camera than, let's say, in real life?
I think because I have to live with it.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No. I think it's because I'd have to live with that happening. Letting something get to me to the point of tears, breaking down. You know, extreme excitement, extreme lows, extreme this. I try to walk a line as, you know, as a dad now. That keeps me in check. But like you said before, there's no repercussions. I think when I have the freedom as an actor to go to different extremes, it's definitely a release for me personally in different aspects, because I feel that life holds me back from what I'm allowed to do. That doesn't mean I'm going to go do something violent and stupid. It's not that. But we're confined. And I want to feel too much. I don't know how else to say it. It's like I want to feel. I want things to hit me. I want it, I want it, I want it. And that's not a healthy way to live. But that open door that I have, being receptive and vulnerable when I'm allowed to react appropriately to that. If I have an obstacle in my life as a dad, as a human being, a husband and a son, I overcome the obstacle with composure and integrity. I don't have to be composed or have integrity on camera. You know what I mean? The truth can come out and I can go there with it. So there's certain releases that yes, it does help me overcome certain things in my life too. But man, for lack of better words, I just like it. I just like it, you know? And it gives me a fulfillment that I need.
So the character of Cuz, let's say, he can be things that in real life, maybe you think them, but you can't embody it.
Yeah,
He can be that wild card.
Yeah. I think actors, look, acting is different for everything. You know, people talk about method acting and all that stuff, and there's been so many, you know, interviews and whatnot on it. I don't even know what method acting is. I know that, you know, certain roles require 100% of you, and certain roles, if you put more than 50% in, you're overdoing it. I'm referring to certain television stuff. You know, it's like you got to hit your marks, you got to say your lines, you got to look here, turn your head. It's like whatever. So the role dictates, and sometimes you're blessed with a role that you can really just literally put those shoes on and put it and walk in it. And if you're fortunate enough to have a little piece of you in there, or someone that you know that we were talking before, that you can, it's kind of like the tangible factor that you can kind of feel without working on it. Because I think that's the death of acting, when I hear actors saying like, oh, I'm working on this, I'm working on it. I'm like, well, what's to work on? If you feel it, you feel it. If you know it, you know it. It shouldn't be work. The only work that I know as an actor is getting my lines down. Everything else is just discipline. You know what I mean? Lines are work. I have the worst memory in the world. Maybe that's why I made a career out of improvising, because I just couldn't remember my lines, but I'm getting better at it. But yeah, something like Cuz was complete freedom. And there was something in me that rang true with that character. There was something there I could tap into and step into that. You know what it's kind of like, Karen? It's like, think about different cliques of friends you got. For me, I have actor friends, I have military friends, buddies from back home, you know, filmmaker friends. They're getting Kevin, but everyone's getting a little different, slightly different little side of me. You know, there's a group of friends I grew up with that were older, so I'd be like the younger, you know, I just felt more energetic about them. If they want to call me crazy, so be it. I just had more energy than them. If there's friends or kids that I mentor at school and they're younger than me, I tend to be a little bit more subdued, man, you know, because I'm just going to bring it down and not be as crazy and wily as them. So they may look at me like a disciplinary or a teacher or a role model. So I'm not going to be bouncing off the walls with that. But it's still Kevin. It's still Kevin. So with a role, I feel like I have to identify what piece of me makes sense there. Because if it's not a piece of me, then I'm lying and I'm acting, and then it's not real. It's not true. I won't act. I refuse to. I won't do it. I won't do it. So I turned down a couple roles, and it was I felt so bad doing it. They were offers, and it was so hard to turn something down. But I just couldn't do that because there wasn't something in me that connected with that role. I was gonna get paid too, man, but I was like, it won't be me. I know there's dudes out there that could play that better than me. I just know it. I just know it. And even one I referred an actor, he's a buddy of mine, and he just does that better. He looks better doing it. There's something in him that plays that better. And I just felt like it was more justice to the filmmaker if they hired him, you know?
yeah, I mean, not, you don't want to use the word sellout, but it sounds like it has to be a piece of you. There's many pieces of you and many parts of you.
Yeah.
And if it's not, you don't want to be, you know, sort of this caged corporate guy role that maybe you don't feel like is in you.
Yeah,
I don't know. I am
you know?
just
If it's
assuming.
someone that's super, super insecure or something, and I could work on that, but if there's not, to my core, there's not just like a piece of me in that, I'd be dialing it in. You know what I mean? If I really couldn't get there. And I'm like, that's just not, I'm not that guy. I can fall into this very easily, but to fall into that, it won't just look right. You're never gonna see me in a rom-com. It's not gonna happen. Maybe down the road. And I love it. I love humor and stuff. I always try to find the humor and levity of everything. But when it comes to a rom-com, when I walk into a room with a mug like this, it's just not screaming rom-com. So I don't get, seen for that, let alone offers for it, you know? Who knows? Maybe someone make a movie in New York and New Jersey and I'll fit better into that. But who knows?
What's the difference between an actor who is vulnerable and an actor who's not vulnerable?
The actor that's not vulnerable is not an actor. That's the difference. You have to receive everything. If you don't receive everything, you're not receiving the material, you're not receiving the person that's across from you, which is what it's all about. You probably have preconceived notions of how the scene should be or how you should be and things like that. It's death to behaving in a realistic manner. If you're not vulnerable and you're not truly personalizing, receiving what that other person is giving you or the obstacle in your way, then you're just fabricating something. And there's nothing real there, you know? So being vulnerable is really the key. And depending if you know who the person you're talking to is. You have to be open to everything. You receive everything, you pull it, just like in life. And between action and cut, like you were saying, everything is received. If you're not open and vulnerable to that, you're just saying the lines. You're just saying the lines and that's it, and just going through the motions. And to me, that's like, vanilla.
But earlier you said you didn't want to play this one character that was insecure. Isn't being vulnerable opening up to the fact that we're all insecure? Some of us have insecurities about different things, but we're all insecure.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Well, you said previously that there was a role that you weren't sure it was playing like an insecure person.
Yeah.
But being vulnerable is admitting the fact that we're all insecure. So where does that play into it? If you're vulnerable as an actor, how can you tap into this insecurity even though I don't get the sense you walk around like a shy little mouse when you come in somewhere? You're larger than life or your persona shows confidence. I don't know. I'm just assuming. I shouldn't assume. But where if you had to be insecure, where do you tap into that? How do you show that vulnerability?
Oh, I hear what you're saying.
If I don't know if I might be.
No, you are.
And
no, you're onto something. I get it. Yes, I'm human. So it's my job as an actor to be brave enough to go places that I don't want to go, especially if I'm hired to do so. That being said, I will. And this is one of the reasons why I started making my own movies, because I was more often than not met halfway. So if a filmmaker is asking me to be vulnerable and to play a character that is self-conscious and open and bleeding from the inside out and all this stuff, and that filmmaker, like sometimes I could tell by the writing, I could see by their past work, I could tell by talking to them, really, just talking to them, who they hire for their cinematographer. Like these are choices, like being in the profession long enough as an actor, I can kind of pick up on it. I get like a gut instinct about it. If they're writing a character, rather than a person, a real human being that has to go through this, and they're looking to capture that, then I'm down. I need the confidence that you as a filmmaker is going to embrace what I give you. I'm not making the movie about me, it's not that, but I gotta know where your head's at. Because you're just writing a script, and you're like, oh, this guy's super insecure. You know? Oh, you know, he's an insecure guy and this and that, blah, blah, blah. If that's written in the script, it says like the role is David, insecure, unsatisfied, this and that, the other, like whatever the descriptions are, right? That to me is fuel. I am on that description, man, like I am a fox honed in on a mouse, man. Like I'm on it, on it. I'm digging so deep sometimes that I dig deeper than a writer or director does when they're writing it. So it's a dream for me when someone is there like I am when they're writing and they're planning as a director when they reach out to me and we're on the same wavelength. So that character they wrote, it's not just like, oh, David's character cries because of this or whatever it is. They're really picturing this life live out in this scene. And they're coming to me to really be the one to live that out for them. I'm all in. I need someone else all in to realize that it's not just a caricature and it's not just like some character is crying because he's sad and we don't really get into the nitty gritty and the guts of it. You know what I mean? So I guess without being long-winded, it's like I gotta be met halfway. Or I'm just walking through something acting like I'm insecure.
And have you ever been wrong about a director that you thought would let you go there based on their prior work, based on who they hire, and it actually, without naming names, you felt caged. You felt like, you know what, I can't be this character. What am I doing here?
Yeah, something didn't click once with this one guy, and he was a friend, and we still get along. We talked about it too. You know, we laid it on the table, but on set something didn't click, and I would never be disrespectful because I was hired on to do this movie. So who the hell am I? I would never raise a stink. I'm not that guy. Ever. I'm hired to do a job. You got me. This director in particular, the way I work doesn't click with the way he works. The way he works as a director is that he is making the film, and he is ensuring that every single little nook and cranny that the actor does is exactly what he wants, when he wants it said, and this and yada yada. I tend to be a little bit more loosen in the moment, you know, because sometimes you get pinpointed, you know, or you get pigeonholed, I mean, into certain things. So it has to click. But oftentimes he was saying things to all the actors. He's like, don't worry, I'll get you there, and things like that, which was kind of degrading for an actor to hear. Because it's like, well, you're hiring me to do a job. I'm already there. We didn't even do the scene yet, so you don't need to get me there. Like, just say action and let me do my thing, you know? So he's a little bit heavy-handed as a director. And that's fine, man. Some people are cool with that, you know what I mean? When I directed Sons, and I'm going to direct, you know, Dirty Hands too, I remembered that, and I just kept in mind, like, you know, you got to say action and you got to sit back a little bit because you hired everyone for a reason. And I appreciate when a director hires me, we talk about everything, soup to nuts. Maybe a little excessively up front. I ask questions because I don't want to overstep bounds or anything like that. And then when he's ready and I'm ready, I'm like, all right, man, you know, you got me on action. Just take the reins off, brother. It's on. And I said, if you feel like you need to reel me in, you know? And I'd rather, as a filmmaker, my actors feel like that. And as an actor, I'd rather feel like that. Feel like someone hired me for a reason for what I bring to the table, rather than hire me and put their hand on my neck and kind of walk me around. I just don't work good like that, that's all.
Right, so it's sort of similar if I was going to be asking you questions and then I'm like, oh, you know what, Kevin, can you say that again? But like, when you talked about, you know, being excited about a film, can you do this instead?
No, that's okay.
That's not okay. Controlling it too much?
No, because at the end of the day, you're painting the director's picture. You know what I mean? It's his picture. Like, I'll give you this, give you that. Sometimes I have an idea for a scene and I'll tell the director and I'll say, look, you want to do it the way you thought first? That's fine. Let's rock. If we have time, can I play with what's on my mind too? If we have time. I'll always respect director's time, production time, because ultimately they got to get what they want. But it's my job as an actor to give them choices. And I don't know the outcome of things percentage-wise, but often enough, sometimes I'll throw something in there that made sense to me that will ultimately get chosen and picked for to be in the picture. You know what I mean? That's not a feather in my cap, don't get me wrong. It's just that you got to figure when a writer's writing it, a director's directing it, and then I get the role, I am 24/7 on that character. They're not. So I'm bringing things to the table, idiosyncrasies and thoughts and obstacles and observations and everything that might make the director go, oh, I didn't think about that. And people did that to me as a director too. It was cool, man. I was like, oh man, you're really getting into this, you know? It was great. So I like to feel that way as an actor. And then it's on the director, it's their call. But depending on the role, in certain roles like Cuz or like Jesse and Malicious, you know, like there's certain roles that require a lot of you, a lot, even physically, a lot. And when you're deep diving that much in, yeah, I look for a director that's in it. Like I look for someone, doesn't matter if it's a young guy, young girl, old girl, like whatever. I want to see someone that's rolling their sleeves up like I am. And I'm like, then you're going to get all of me. And I'm going to leave it on the table. Most of the time I don't remember what happens. And that's that. Need my Rolodex? Here it is. I'll help you out any way I can, you know?
But in the real world, we may not get that from people. So what if you get a half-hearted person and you feel like you're all into it and they're not? How do you still finish the job? Knowing like, you know what, this person, they're not on my wavelength, they're not respecting my time.
Yeah. What I do respect is that they reached out. So I'll never not consider that. You know what I mean? I'll never put myself on a pedestal like I'm better than for someone or I'm better than a job. There's just some jobs that I just don't think I would fit, you know? And trust me, I want every job. I'm human. I got a mortgage and a wife and a kid and bills too. You know what I mean? And I can't tell you the feeling, man, when ultimately I end up walking away from something because there's a paycheck in front of me like this, and it's like, well, there's my mortgage for the next 2 months, man. You know, but if I do it, that's not going to look good on my career, and that's way beyond 2 months. So it's like I try to stay and make my choices as an actor that go like this, or I can make choices right now and go like that. And I didn't work all these years to take a dip, so I got to be smart about it. So if that means I got to live a little tighter and do things and adjust my belt to make sure that I could hold out, then, you know, they come, and I've been pretty fortunate. So, you know, knock on wood. And then I'm also in the meantime writing and planning my next one to do too, you know. So.
Kevin, you said there's something you wanted to bring up, a current thing that you're dealing with that you thought would be useful to share.
Yeah, it just happened this morning, really. Before I came out here. It's a champagne problem, as we call them. You work so hard for stuff, and then sometimes it all comes at once. You know, I wrote Dirty Hands. I've been producing with my partner. I'm directing it, and man, I can't wait to play this role in this movie. I can't wait. I've been auditioning in the meantime, leading up to it. And you never know what's going to happen when you audition, because you just do the tape, you fling it out. Very, very rarely do you ever hear any feedback on your audition, whether they liked it or not, get it, didn't get it. It just kind of like goes into the ether, you know? I think people say like actors have to deal with rejection. I think actors have to deal with indifference. Very rarely do you even get rejected. You just don't hear anything, you know? So I did hear something twice this morning. So I found out that I'm pinned for a pretty big TV series. I don't want to say the name of it. That's coming up soon. And I'm also pinned for a pretty big movie. And I can't say the name of that either. I had to sign NDAs and whatnot.
Sorry, pinned?
Pinned means, essentially means that they want me for the role.
Ah, okay.
They just can't, they're not at liberty to hire yet. So I'm like right there. So they say that to prep you to make sure you're available for the shoot dates and all that stuff. So it's either like it's you or it's down to you and one other person. And they just have to make a decision, or the decision's made. It's very vague, or the decision's made and they just letting you know you're pinned, but you're not hired yet, but you're pinned, but you're not hired yet, but you're pinned. Like, you know what I mean? It's like this thing. So this is the life of an actor. This is the stuff I couldn't handle. That's why I did what I still do what I do, because I would just be sitting in this. But they're both very big, and it'd be amazing to get both of them. And they both shoot and film at the same exact time my movie Dirty Hands goes, that I've been prepping for 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm probably just going to be waiting for a week until something happens. I can't force, I can't expedite, I can't do anything until I find out, you know? Do I want all three to happen? Yeah. That's not going to happen, though. Something's going to have to sacrifice, something's going to have to suffer, unfortunately. So it's just an interesting situation how that kind of came to be. But man, if I could find a way to do 2 of them or something, that'd be great. But it's a pretty interesting situation that happened about an hour before I got here. I said, okay. Yeah.
How much do you believe in, maybe you gave off a vibe of like, this would be great, but I don't need it. And somehow, I'm not saying that your talent and all your body of work didn't lead up to it,
I
but
understand what you're saying.
you know how sometimes when we don't need something, it like comes to us?
Yeah, sometimes. I don't even think I needed them, because I positioned myself and was fortunate enough to get, you know, to be doing films, getting offers and whatnot, or and doing my own. So it's not so much that I need. I would just really want to have it, you know? And I stopped looking at auditions a while back as that. Now I just love doing a scene. It happens to be an audition, and we'll send it in. But I like the work of it, you know? So maybe that's something that comes off. I don't know. But time will tell. So I'll let you guys know what happens.
All right. Wow. What an interesting thing. So now, do you have to hold off for other things because you're waiting to hear back? So you have to then put your project.
I don't know. That's a decision I have to figure out. I really don't know. So I can speculate options of things happening, but and look, I might lose both. That's why I don't get high anymore about stuff. Some people, man, they still get so excited about everything, and that went away a long time ago for me. Because the highs are high, but the lows are low. So I found it much more safe if I'm just kind of walking the line. So I appreciate the good stuff, but I don't let the bad stuff bother me no more. So I just stay walking the line. I got the news from my manager, and, you know, my wife was there. She was like, whoa, happy. But I just went back to doing a rewrite on the script for Dirty Hands. Just kept working.
What do you think about people posting on social media that something big could be in the works?
Yeah, you know, I'm not much for it. It's an attention grab too, you know what I mean? So that's nice. Nothing, you know, everybody's got their own thing, but it might be a little premature, because even as an actor, man, I've had jobs where I've been cast, and then the day before the TV show starts, the character got pulled. So I've had egg on my face a few times, even like Super Bowl commercials that were supposed to be airing. Hey everyone, I'm gonna be in a Super Bowl commercial, keep an eye out for the Budweiser or whatever it was, you know what I mean? And then it just never airs. Things like that. Happens all the time. So I usually wait until it's done, it's on, and then I talk about it. Yeah.
There was an article recently about how Steve Jobs, before he passed away, had emailed himself a year prior to his passing. And he scheduled the email to arrive about a year away from, he didn't know what was going to happen. If you were to write yourself an email today, not that there's anything bad pending for you, but for you to get it in a year about your life today, what would you say to yourself? This is an email from you to you. Dear Kevin, this is Kevin. And I'm writing to you a year in the past, and here's what I want to tell you. We don't know where the world's going to be, where the economy's going to be, where their conflict's going to be in other parts of the world. But I want to write this to you today?
I would hope that I send a message to myself that was somewhat motivating, uplifting, but rooted in reality. And I'd hope I'd be able to say myself in a year from now, I'd say it worked. It worked. You're moving them. That'd be it. And that would let me know that I'm moving people and my work is actually reaching people and I'm making an impact on someone's life. And if I knew that a year from now, that'd be great. But for the most part, I already act like that's happening because I'm trying to stay the course and be consciously delusional in a positive manner that's a reality. So I'll just sit in that.
You mentioned that in your Soft White Underbelly interview, which is so powerful, and I highly recommend others checking it out. It's a great channel. But the interview that you had with Mark, the person who runs the channel, was pretty intense and amazing. I don't want to give too much away, but that was something that you said. You said consciously delusional at the end. What does that mean?
You know, I never heard it before. I just kind of said it one day to myself. It's like, I'm aware of what I'm doing. I'm aware of my thought process right now. I'm aware. I'm aware that I see myself in a position to do this. And it's not rooted in reality. It's just not right now, you know? So in order for me to be there, to achieve that, I have to think that. I have to see that. I have to strive for that. And all of that still motivates me day to day to day to get to that point. And it's not far-fetched, it's not out of reach, it's not, because I feel it, I see it in every being of me, every part of me. So in order for me to stay on that course, to have my ultimate goal achieved, which may even change when I get there. But I know that that has not changed in 20 years, so I don't know how it's gonna change. But I have to see myself through all the ups and downs and all the things you go through in life. I just have to think of myself in a higher place to be able to move people. I have to. That's what I'm here for, man. You know? So if I can express myself through film, and I've given the opportunity as an actor to do that, and somebody wants that, then they'll get it. And if it takes me giving this time and time and time again, and if it takes me making my own movies and going through all of that, planning for 2 years and propping it, not making money up front and doing whatever I need to do to get to that, then I'll do it. I'll do it. So I have to think of myself in that place. Yeah.
And sorry, not to get too personal, but you did share with us that your brother and your dad said to you 20 plus years ago, maybe, it's time to make a decision.
Yeah.
Is that what kind of was the result of the decision?
That was an impetus. I never want to let my old man down, or my brother, or anyone, for that matter. But I think ultimately more I'd be letting myself down because I know what I'm capable of. I know I'm still tapping into that as a person, as an actor. But in order to go there, I have to stay consistent as a person, coinciding with what I can bring to the table and tap into and be brave enough to let out as an actor. It has to go hand in hand. Or else I'm just hoping, you know? So I'm not much in the business for just hoping and just believing. That's just it's not my bag. And I think you can tell from everything I was talking about before and how diligently I position myself in this industry as a whole to see that things come to fruition for myself. It feels like such a selfish notion. Sometimes I really God, I get sick of it. Because I'm not. But if I don't consistently work, I'm the product, so to speak. You know what I mean? And if I don't look at myself as an actor like that and position myself as an actor, then no one else is going to do it for me. So in order to achieve what I wanted to achieve, in order to be in positions consistently, in movies that people want to see, in roles that people can connect to, remember, talk about, in conversation, something that affected someone that took that 2 hours out of their life that they can really just like sit in, you know, like I used to be when I was just hating life, working, swinging a hammer. I was going to movies. I was like, I just needed that hour and a half, that 2 hours to get out of it. If I could be responsible for giving someone that, man, mission accomplished. And then I'll try to accomplish it again and again. And then I'll go to Hawaii and take a break.